Monster or murder? The Dyatlov Pass mystery. Was a monster hunting them, or murder in the mountains? What could compel 9 experienced hikers to rip their tent apart from within and dash into a lethal blizzard, barely clothed, never to be seen alive again? Was it sheer terror? An invisible entity? Or something so bizarre that it remains a mystery even after 6 decades? Today, we plunge into the eerie enigma of the Dyatlov Pass Incident, a case that has perplexed investigators, ignited outrageous theories, and generated more questions than it has resolved. This is Liam. Welcome to my channel. Let's go back to 1959, deep in the frozen wilderness of the Ural Mountains, where this tragic and unexplained story begins. Introduction. The Dyatlov Pass Incident is one of the most chilling and unsolved mysteries of the modern age. In January 1959, 9 young, highly skilled hikers set off into the frozen heart of the Ural Mountains in the Soviet Union, an adventure they never returned from. Weeks later, their bodies were discovered scattered across the snow under disturbing and baffling conditions. Their tent had been slashed open from the inside. Some of the hikers had suffered brutal internal injuries without any visible wounds. Others were found barefoot in the snow, wearing little more than thin clothes in temperatures that could kill within minutes. More than 6 decades later, no one can say for sure what happened on that mountain. Theories have exploded over the years: avalanches, secret military experiments, strange weather phenomena, even the supernatural. But the truth? It's still locked away in the icy wilderness of Dyatlov Pass, leaving behind only questions, whispers, and an enduring legend of terror. The joy before the trip. The group laughed together as they made their way through the snow. In their diaries, they wrote about the beauty of the mountains, the thrill of the journey, and the deep bond they shared. Letters home were filled with optimism and love. They dreamed of reaching the summit, of telling their families all about the adventure when they returned. For them, this was more than a hike. It was freedom, friendship, the triumph of pushing themselves beyond their limits. But just days later, that happiness would shatter, replaced by fear, chaos, and a tragedy that no one has been able to fully explain. The hikers, background and experience. The group consisted of students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute, all experienced in long-distance hiking and survival in extreme conditions. Each member had unique skills and backgrounds. Igor Dyatlov, leader, 23 years old, a dedicated and highly skilled engineering student, Dyatlov was known for his meticulous planning and leadership in previous hiking expeditions. Yuri Doroshenko, 21 years old, strong-willed and physically fit, he had previously shown great bravery, once standing up to a bear on a prior trek. Lyudmila Dubinina, 20 years old, the most resilient member of the group, she was known for her tough personality and prior experience in enduring harsh conditions. Georgy Krivonashenko, 23 years old, an engineering student with experience working at a nuclear plant, which later contributed to speculation about radiation found on some clothing. Alexander Kolovatov, 24 years old, a meticulous and disciplined hiker with a background in nuclear physics and laboratory research. Zinaida Kolmogorova, 22 years old, a cheerful and strong young woman who had completed several difficult expeditions in the past. Rustem Slobodin, 23 years old, a skilled athlete and experienced hiker, known for his endurance and stamina. Nikolai Thibault Brignol, 24 years old, a talented engineering student of French descent, strong and capable of handling extreme conditions. Semyon Alexander Zolotaryov, 37 years old, the oldest member of the group, a seasoned World War II veteran with extensive survival skills. Yuri Yudin, 21 years old, the only survivor, as he turned back due to illness before the group met their fate. As the group of hikers made their way through the frozen wilderness of the Ural Mountains, they carried more than just supplies and equipment. They carried pieces of their lives, their hopes, and their fears. Among their belongings were diaries and letters, small windows into their thoughts during those final days. Igor Dyatlov, the group's leader, often jotted down notes in his diary, documenting their progress and the challenges they faced. On January 28, 1959, he wrote, "The weather is worsening, but the group remains in high spirits. We are making good progress, though the snow is deeper than expected. I hope we can reach Otorten soon." His words reflect the determination and optimism that carried them forward, even as the conditions grew harsher. Lyudmila Dubinina, known for her resilience, also kept a diary. Her entries reveal a young woman who refused to let the cold or exhaustion break her spirit. On January 30th, she wrote, "My feet are numb, but I refuse to slow the group down. We are so close to our goal. I can't let them down." Her determination was a source of strength for the others, especially during the most grueling moments of the trek. Meanwhile, Zenaida Kolmogorova, the cheerful and strong-willed member of the group, wrote a letter to her parents, filled with warmth and optimism. "Dear Mama and Papa," she began, "we are deep in the mountains now. The snow is beautiful, but the cold is fierce. I miss you both, but I am so proud to be part of this team. We will reach Otorten soon, and I will write again when we return." Her words, filled with love and hope, would never reach their intended recipients. Yuri Yudin, the sole survivor who turned back due to illness, later reflected on the group's final days together. In interviews, he often spoke of their camaraderie and the bond they shared. "I often think about that day when I left them," he said. "They were in good spirits, but I could see the exhaustion in their eyes. I wish I had stayed. Maybe I could have done something to help." His voice carried the weight of survivor's guilt, a haunting reminder of the fragility of life in the face of nature's unpredictability. Among the hikers' belongings, searchers found small, personal artifacts that spoke volumes about who they were. Zenaida's notebook, filled with sketches of the mountains and poems about nature, was recovered from her backpack, frozen but intact. Rustam Slobodin's camera contained the last photos the group ever took, smiling faces against a backdrop of endless snow. These fragments of their lives offer a glimpse into the personalities and passions that define them, making their loss all the more poignant. In the end, the hikers' diaries and letters serve as a testament to their courage, their dreams, and their humanity. They were not just names in a mystery, but real people, friends, siblings, children, who set out on an adventure with hope in their hearts. Their words, frozen in time, remind us that even in the face of tragedy, there is beauty in the bonds we share and the stories we leave behind. The story, A Journey to Death. On January 23, 1959, 10 members of the Ural Polytechnic Institute set out on an expedition to Otorten Mountain in the Ural Range. Led by Igor Dyatlov, the group consisted of experienced hikers undertaking a Category 3 trek, the most difficult level of Soviet hiking expeditions. Early in the journey, one member, Yuri Yudin, fell ill and returned home, unknowingly saving his life. The remaining 9 hikers continued their ascent, but on the night of February 1-2, something caused them to flee their tent in a hurry. Weeks later, their bodies were discovered in a condition so bizarre that it baffled investigators. The hikers' bodies were found under unusual conditions, some with severe internal injuries like skull fractures and broken ribs, while others showed no visible wounds. One victim was missing her tongue, most likely due to scavenging animals. Their tent had been ripped open from the inside, and many fled in minimal clothing despite the extreme cold. Additionally, traces of radiation were detected on some clothing, though later studies suggested it was not linked to the cause of death. Forensic analysis of the bodies revealed even more puzzling details. Some of the hikers had suffered severe internal injuries, including crushed ribs and skull fractures, yet there were no external wounds to explain how these injuries occurred. Dr. Ivan Bogdanov, a forensic pathologist who examined the bodies, noted, "The injuries were consistent with a high-impact force, like being struck by a car or caught in an explosion, but there was no evidence of such an event at the scene." Lyudmila Dubinina's body was found without a tongue, a detail that sparked wild speculation. However, forensic experts later suggested that scavenging animals, rather than foul play, were likely responsible for the missing soft tissue. In sub-zero temperatures, the body's soft tissues can become desiccated and brittle, explained Dr. Bogdanov. Animals seeking food would naturally target these areas. The levels were not high enough to cause harm, said Dr. Elena Petrova. But their presence added to the mystery, especially in the context of the Cold War. These forensic details, while shedding some light on the case, also deepen the mystery, leaving investigators with more questions than answers. Discovery of the incident. The alarm was raised when the hikers failed to return, as scheduled. Concerned relatives and the Ural Polytechnic Institute initiated a search operation. On February 20th, 1959, rescue teams, including students, military personnel, and professional searchers, began looking for the group. They discovered the abandoned tent on February 26th, cut open from the inside, with the hikers' belongings still inside. Further searches led to the grim discovery of their bodies scattered across the snow-covered landscape, ultimately revealing the mysterious and disturbing circumstances of their deaths. Local villagers also reported strange occurrences around the time of the incident, including unusual lights in the sky and loud noises echoing through the mountains. One villager, Ivan Petrov, claimed to have seen a bright orange glow in the sky on the night of February 1st. "It was like nothing I'd ever seen before," he said. "The light moved in strange patterns, and then it was gone." Another villager, Maria Sokolova, reported hearing a loud, thunderous noise that shook the ground. "It wasn't like any avalanche I've ever heard," she said. "It was deeper, more powerful, like the earth itself was groaning." While these accounts remain unverified, they add another layer of mystery to the already enigmatic case, leaving us to wonder what truly happened on that fateful night. To better understand the events of that fateful night, it's essential to visualize the terrain where the tragedy unfolded. The hikers' campsite was located on the eastern slope of Kholat Syakhl, a mountain whose name translates to Dead Mountain in the local Mansi language. The slope was steep, with an incline of about 30 degrees, and the hikers had cut into the snowpack to create a flat surface for their tent. This decision, while practical at the time, may have inadvertently destabilized the snow above them. Maps of the area show that the tent was positioned approximately 1,500 meters above sea level, with the tree line about a kilometer downhill. When the hikers fled the tent, they ran toward the forest, likely seeking shelter from the wind and cold. However, the distance was too great, and the sub-zero temperatures quickly took their toll. Diagrams of the scene show the tent ripped open from the inside, with footprints leading away in a chaotic pattern. Some footprints were deep and frantic, suggesting the hikers were running in panic, while others were more measured, as if some members tried to maintain order. The bodies were found scattered across the slope, some near a cedar tree where they had attempted to start a fire, and others further down, where they had succumbed to the cold. These visual aids help paint a clearer picture of the hikers' final moments. But they also raise new questions. Why did they flee so suddenly? What caused them to leave the safety of their tent without proper clothing or supplies? The maps and diagrams provide clues, but the full story remains elusive. The official investigation and findings. Soviet authorities conducted an investigation, but ultimately ruled that the hikers had died due to an unknown compelling force. The lack of concrete evidence led officials to close the case in May 1959, further fueling speculation and conspiracy theories. The location where the hikers perished was later named Dyatlov Pass, in honor of their leader. The year 1959 was a tense period in Soviet history. The Cold War was at its peak, and the Ural Mountains were a region of strategic importance, with military installations and secret testing sites scattered throughout the area. Some have speculated that the hikers may have stumbled upon a classified military experiment, leading to their deaths. The Ural Mountains were a hotspot for military activity during the Cold War, said historian Dmitry Volkov. It's possible that the hikers witnessed something they weren't supposed to see. However, no concrete evidence has ever been found to support this theory. The Soviet government's swift closure of the case and its vague ruling of an unknown compelling force only added to the mystery, fueling decades of speculation and conspiracy theories. The government's handling of the case was suspicious, to say the least, said Volkov. But without access to classified documents, we may never know the full truth. The historical context of the Dyatlov Pass incident adds another layer of intrigue, reminding us that the tragedy unfolded against the backdrop of a world on the brink of nuclear war. Theories and explanations. Over the years, numerous theories have been proposed to explain the Dyatlov Pass incident. Some are grounded in scientific reasoning, while others verge on the supernatural. Avalanche theory. One of the most widely accepted explanations is that a small slab avalanche forced the hikers to flee their tent. This theory suggests 1. The hikers might have heard a noise resembling an avalanche and panicked. 2. The force of the snow could have caused the severe injuries found on some of the bodies. 3. They fled in haste, succumbing to hypothermia before attempting to return to camp. However, skeptics argue that initially, no obvious signs of an avalanche were found, leading to skepticism about this theory. However, later research suggested that a delayed slab avalanche, which leaves minimal surface disruption, could have caused the severe internal injuries observed in some victims. Dr. Alexander Pozrin, a geotechnical engineer who studied the case in 2019, explained the slab avalanche theory in detail. The hikers cut into the snowpack to create a flat surface for their tent, he said. This destabilized the slope, and when strong winds added more snow, it triggered a delayed slab avalanche. The force of the snow would have caused severe internal injuries, similar to those seen in car crashes. Dr. Pozrin's team used modern technology, including 3D modeling and weather data, to recreate the conditions of that night. The slope was steeper than previously thought, he said, and the snowpack was unstable due to the hikers' actions. It was a perfect storm of factors that led to the tragedy. Other experts, however, remain skeptical. Dr. Ivan Bogdanov, a forensic pathologist, noted, "While the avalanche theory explains some aspects of the case, it doesn't fully account for the bizarre injuries or the hikers' panicked flight into the cold." Dr. Elena Petrova, a psychologist, added, "The group's behavior suggests they were reacting to something sudden and terrifying. An avalanche could explain that, but so could other factors like infrasound or even a military experiment." The debate among experts highlights the complexity of the case and the difficulty of arriving at a definitive conclusion. Hypothermia and paradoxical undressing. Hypothermia can cause disoriented victims to remove their clothes, but it doesn't explain the severe traumatic injuries found on some of the hikers, such as crushed ribs and skull fractures. Military or secret weapon testing. Radiation was found on some clothing, but this could have come from everyday sources such as lantern mantles. Additionally, no evidence of explosions, burned terrain, or widespread destruction supports this theory. Yeti or cryptid attack. A grainy photograph taken by the group has led to speculation about a Yeti attack, but no physical evidence, such as claw marks, tracks, or tufts of fur, was found. Moreover, an animal attack wouldn't explain why the tent was cut open from the inside, or why the hikers fled in such a structured but chaotic manner. Infrasound-induced panic. Some researchers suggest that infrasound, caused by strong winds, could have induced panic and disorientation among the hikers, leading them to flee in fear. However, while infrasound may explain their irrational behavior, it does not fully account for the severe physical injuries observed in some victims. KGB or espionage theory. There is no direct evidence that the hikers were involved in espionage or targeted by the government. If the KGB had eliminated them, it seems unlikely their bodies would have been left in such a conspicuous state. Supernatural and extraterrestrial theories. Reports of lights in the sky exist, but there is no concrete proof that UFOs or supernatural forces were involved. The lack of conclusive extraterrestrial evidence makes this theory highly speculative. Each of these theories has gaps, leaving the mystery of Dyatlov Pass unresolved. While the avalanche theory is the most widely accepted explanation, other theories continue to captivate the imagination of mystery enthusiasts. The Dyatlov Pass incident has captivated the public imagination for decades, inspiring countless books, documentaries, and even feature films. In 2013, the case was the subject of the Russian film Devil's Pass, which blended fact with fiction to create a chilling narrative. The film explored the idea that the hikers had stumbled upon a secret government experiment, a theory that has long fascinated conspiracy theorists. The incident has also been featured in numerous true crime podcasts and TV shows, cementing its place as one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of the 20th century. "The Dyatlov Pass case has all the elements of a great mystery," said filmmaker Alexei Ivanov. "It's a story of adventure, tragedy, and the unknown. It's no wonder it continues to capture our imagination." For many, the story of the Dyatlov hikers is not just a tragedy, but a cautionary tale about the power and unpredictability of nature. It reminds us that, even in our modern world, there are still mysteries that defy explanation. In the digital age, the Dyatlov Pass incident has found new life through interactive media. Online platforms now offer 3D reconstructions of the campsite, allowing users to explore the terrain and the hikers' final moments in vivid detail. One such reconstruction, created by a team of digital artists and historians, shows the tent pitched on the slope of Kholat Syakhl, with the surrounding landscape rendered in stunning accuracy. Users can click on various points of interest, such as the cedar tree, where the hikers tried to start a fire, or the spot where Lyudmila Dubinina's body was found. Each click reveals additional information, including photographs, diary entries, and expert commentary. Another interactive feature is a timeline of the hiker's journey, from their departure on January 23rd to the discovery of their bodies in late February. Users can scroll through the timeline, pausing to read about key events, such as Yuri Yudin's decision to turn back, or the moment the hikers pitched their tent on the fateful slope. These interactive elements not only make the story more engaging, but also allow users to form their own conclusions about what happened. For example, one user might focus on the avalanche theory, while another might explore the possibility of military involvement. By combining technology with storytelling, these digital tools bring the Dyatlov Pass incident to life for a new generation, ensuring that the mystery remains alive and relevant. New findings: a scientific explanation for the Dyatlov Pass incident. In 2019, Russian authorities reopened the case, aiming to finally explain what had happened. A team led by prosecutor Andrei Kuryakov used modern scientific methods, including photogrammetry and weather analysis, to reassess the evidence. Their findings strongly supported the slab avalanche theory, previously dismissed due to a lack of obvious signs of an avalanche at the scene. "The slope was steeper than we initially thought," said Kuryakov, "and the hikers' decision to cut into the snowpack destabilized the slope, making an avalanche more likely." The team also recreated the conditions of that night using 3D modeling, showing how the snowpack could have collapsed under the weight of accumulating snow and strong winds. The investigation revealed that the hikers had pitched their tent on a slope with an incline of about 30 degrees, far steeper than previously believed. To create a flat surface for camping, they had cut into the snowpack, unknowingly weakening the structure of the snow above them. Over the next few hours, strong winds added more snow to the slope, increasing the pressure on the unstable layer. Eventually, the snow gave way, triggering a delayed slab avalanche, a sudden, localized release of compacted snow. Unlike a traditional avalanche, which leaves obvious signs of destruction, a slab avalanche can be more subtle, explaining why search teams initially found no evidence of one. However, not everyone is convinced. Some experts argue that the injuries sustained by the hikers, particularly the skull fractures and broken ribs, are inconsistent with an avalanche. The force required to cause such injuries would have left more visible damage to the tent and surrounding area, said Dr. Ivan Bogdanov, a forensic pathologist. Others have pointed out that the hikers' panicked flight from the tent suggests they were reacting to something more immediate and terrifying than a delayed avalanche. If it was just snow, why didn't they try to dig themselves out? Asked Dr. Elena Petrova, a psychologist who has studied the case. Their behavior suggests they were fleeing something they perceived as an imminent threat. Despite these objections, the 2019 investigation remains the most comprehensive to date, offering a plausible, if not definitive, explanation for the tragedy. The case was officially closed in 2020, with authorities concluding that the hikers had died as a result of a natural disaster. The 2019 findings may have brought us closer to the truth, but they also raise new questions, ensuring that the case will continue to captivate and intrigue for generations to come. The final verdict. With all these factors combined, investigators concluded that the Dyatlov Pass tragedy was a horrific but natural accident, rather than the result of supernatural forces, secret military experiments, or an unknown assailant. The delayed slab avalanche, combined with the group's panicked reaction, hypothermia, and subsequent misfortunes, tragically led to their deaths. Despite this scientific explanation, some skeptics remain unconvinced. The Dyatlov Pass incident will likely continue to inspire mystery enthusiasts and conspiracy theorists, but for most experts, the case is now considered solved. The mystery of Dyatlov Pass continues to captivate and disturb decades after that fateful night. What do you think happened? Was it a sad accident, a hidden military secret, or something weirder? Let us know your ideas in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. If you reach this point, it shows you liked exploring one of history's biggest unsolved mysteries. If you like my content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. And if you or someone you know has experienced an unexplained event, let us know. The truth is out there, and together we can keep searching for answers. This is Liam, and I'll see you next time.